In the previous episode, I took my viewers to the second and third marker site area, which I labelled myself to give a better understanding of the overall study on the Battle of Slim River. In particular, the combat action which occurred within the Sungkai and Trolak sectors. These were the battle areas which involved the unit of the 4th 19th Hyderabad and the 5th to Punjab Battalions in the early hours of January 7, 1942. We are now standing at the third marker site area, once occupied by the unit of the 5th to Punjab Battalion, a strong sub-unit of the 12th Indian Brigade formation. This battalion was led by Lieutenant Colonel Cecil Deakin as their commanding officer, which the battalion proved its worth during the skirmishes at the Batu Pekaka Bridge near Kuala Ketil, Kedah on the 16th and 17th of December 1941, where Lieutenant Colonel Cecil Deakin himself was awarded the Distinguished Service Order medal for successfully leading an attack to retake and capture an enemy position around the Batu Pekaka Bridge head during the height of the Battle of Titi Karangan. In a fortnight later, the same unit found itself tasked as the main bulwark of the 11th Indian Division to delay and stop the enemy tanks' advance from taking Kuala Lumpur, the federal capital of Malaya, at this particular defilement area. I am now standing at milestone 61, which marks the start of the 5th to Punjab defensive positions. This area I label as marker site area number 3 for the benefit of understanding the whole range of the Battle of Slim River. So if you can see in front of me, there was a defilement area. This defilement was part of the original road built by the Malayan government in the mega project of the 1939 Federal Route 1, which was later in the post-independence period were extended to the right. The original conditions in the war years were perfect for springing an ambush for the Japanese tank column around this sector. Similar to the Hyderabadis, this Punjab position was supported by one anti-tank gun placed by the road. Please bear in mind that the 12th Indian Brigade had already lost one anti-tank gun at milestone 60, which was in front of the current MRSM Trolak. The men of the Punjab Battalion also laid down 24 anti-tank mines around this defilement area. Though it has been said that the division HQ at Tanjung Malim hold around 1,400 anti-tank mines at its depot, only 24 were sent up front and installed around this particular area. It was still a mystery on the steward's decision not to use more of the anti-tank mines in the Trolak sector, if the delayed action was to have any strong effect, especially on the Japanese tanks. So we are now standing at marker site area number 3, which I label to give a better understanding of the whole range of the Battle of Slim River, which occurred on the 7th of January 1942. This area was the milestone 61 and was the defensive position defended by the unit of the 5th to Punjab. So if you can see in front of me was the old cutting of the road which had been built in the early of the 19th century, and there was a relatively new road post-independence period where the government of Malaysia have improved the road condition and straightened out the difficult winding road which runs through here. So behind me was a mile from where I am standing now was the position held by the Hyderabadis men, and soon enough, as early as 4:30 AM, CO of the 5th to Punjab, the heroes of the Battle of Batu Pekaka or Battle of Titi Karangan, Lieutenant Colonel Cecil Deakin, find the men of the Hyderabadis filtered through this area. And if you can see, surrounds me was a deep cutting. It was a defilement area, relatively a better defensive position compared to the Hyderabadis. And these high positions on my right and left side were occupied by the men of the 5th Punjab, and they were armed with Molotov cocktails and also Smith grenades, built by the British, of course. And when the unit of the 6th Tank Regiment, led by Major Toyosaku Hajime Shimada, reached this area at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, amid the confusion, amid the men of the Hyderabadis retreating to this area, the men of the 5th Punjab managed to erect a roadblocks just in front of me. And these positions, they laid out as the killing zone for tanks, for enemy tanks. And during the battle, they managed to shot the leading tank with the 2-pounder anti-tank guns, and that anti-tank guns were later overrun by the advancing Japanese tank. However, due to the destructions of the first tank, the second and third tanks were trying to outflank the area, try to find ways so that they can move forward. And men of the Punjab unit threw a hail fire of Molotov cocktails, which managed to destroy the second or third tanks. And some of the tanks also hit an anti-tank mines which were laid in this position. There were only 24 anti-tanks mines that had been brought up from the division HQ to this area, and men of the 5th Punjab managed to install 24 anti-tank mines around these positions, this defilement. So current condition doesn't do justice, because in 1942, this road were a bit more narrower than it is now. And in the post-independence period, the government of Malaysia had straightened out the road so it doesn't come through this area where I am standing. So this area were installed with 24 anti-tank mines compared to the whole inventory of anti-tank mines that was held by the division HQ. There were 1,400 anti-tank mines, but it did not reach this position. That was a very bad decisions by the GOC of the 11th Indian Division. They should have sent more anti-tank mines around this area. So when the second or third tanks hit the mines, and some of the tanks were hit by Molotov cocktails by the men of the 5th Punjab. So as early as 4:30 in the morning, you try to imagine this area. Men of the 5th Punjab were holding up ridge on my right side. It's an elevated position. They would be able to throw the Molotov cocktails on the tanks, and there was some part of the Japanese tank, 95 and 97, were vulnerable to arsenal that was man-made, which was the Molotov cocktail. It was unconventional method to kill a tank, but they managed to do that. And through an eyewitness account, that night was raining, so the Molotov cocktails were a bit damp, so it's very hard for you to light. They do not have a lighter, they use matches. So amid the battle occurred around here, when the survivors of the Hyderabadis unit filtered through these positions. Colonel Cecil Dickens found himself try to rally the men of the Hyderabadis, which brought panic with them to the Punjab position. In some of a way affected the Punjab men. However, the 2-pounder anti-tank mines, anti-tank guns managed to kill the first tank. The second and third tanks hit an anti-tank mines. The fourth tank were hit by Molotov cocktails. So it was stated that 6 Japanese tanks were destroyed right where I am walking now, and it created a tail of traffic for the Japanese tank companies to push further down the road. So the attack by Major Hajime Toyosaku Shimada should have ended here if they put up more anti-tank mines. The men or the crew of the 2-pounder anti-tank guns managed to aim straight through their guns towards the traffic or tail tanks of the Japanese tank company, which were coming through this area. And bear in mind, the 6th Tank Regiment were also supported with the Japanese infantry that were carried with lorries and armored car. So the men of the 5th to Punjab not only have to deal with the Japanese tank around the stretch of the road, but also through enemy outflanking movement on my right and left side. So it was a complete chaos at that time. Before I continue my explanation of what's happening here, I think it would be wise for me to provide a brief overview of the enemy or the Japanese unit involved in the action at the Trolak sector. In particular, the exact unit that stormed the Hyderabad and Punjab position in the early hours of the 7th January 1942. After the Battle of Kampa, General Tomoyuki Yamashita, the General Officer Commanding of the 25th Imperial Japanese Army, decided to rest the 41st Regiment and replace the thrust south of Bido with the fresh troops of the 42nd Ando Detachment from the 5th Division. This time, the 6th Tank Regiment, which was led by Colonel Tadao Ando, were given the responsibility to keep pace with the effort of pushing the enemy south without much of a respite. This same unit had its first battle against the British north of this bridge at Kampung To near Betong, when the command of the 3rd 16th Punjab Regiment, led by Lieutenant Colonel Henry Moffatt as its CO, tried to reach this area to block this narrow road from being used as the second axis for the invading Japanese force to take Malaya. But this is a different story to tell on another day. In a month later, on the night of 6th of January 1942, the officer commanding, Major Toyosaku Hajime Shimada of the 6th Tank Regiment, managed to persuade Colonel Tadao Ando to use an unconventional method of putting a tank company as a thrusting column to push the enemy to the rear while holding the metal road for the mopping up operation for the Japanese infantry to grab. This tactic was an unconventional method at the time, but Major Shimada, who recently graduated from a tank school in Japan, succeeded in persuading Colonel Tadao Ando, taking stock of the successful Asun Blitz 3 weeks earlier during the Battle of Jitra, and the skirmishes occurred at Kampung To, Betong. Major Shimada's tank company consists of 5 Type 95 Hago light tanks and a couple of dozen Type 97 Chiha or medium tanks were put to the charge. Easily brushing through the Hyderabad position just within an hour, they reached the 5th to Punjab position as early as 4:30 am without waiting for the infantry to secure the surrounding position of the tanks. The official history of the Battle of Slim River depicts that the night was bright with moonlight. However, eyewitnesses have confirmed through writings that the night was drizzling wet with rain and was pitch black. To ensure the success of stopping the enemy attack, Lieutenant Colonel Cecil Deakin sent the D and C companies as the main bulwark unit. The men of D and C company were disposed around this area, while the A company was tasked to guard the railway line less than 500 meters from the marker site area number 3. while the CO was positioned further down the road at a small hill approximately less than a mile from the marker site area number 3. They were connected by a landline and a runner to relay messages between the CO and the OCs of the companies. The original strength of the 52 Punjab unit was around 800 men. But after 3 weeks of non-stop fighting, they suffered around 25% casualty rate. Furthermore, the men were dead tired from lack of sleep and desperately needed a proper rest. The first tank reached the Punjab position and penetrated deep enough into the D Company defensive area. It was either hit by the 2-pounder anti-tank gun or was destroyed by an anti-tank mine, which then disabled it. The second and third tanks tried to outflank the roadblock position but were attacked by the bleary-eyed Punjabis with the cumbersome Boy's anti-tank rifle, which, according to the CO's diary, had hit the tank tracks and disabled it from moving. Molotov cocktails and grenades then were flying from both sides of the ridges. By the stroke of luck, there were 6 tanks burning in a carnage, and the roadblocks of the destroyed tanks created a tail traffic of the Japanese armored column on this particular stretch of road. At this juncture, after firing 2 shots of ordnance, the 2-pounder anti-tank gun crews packed up their remaining ordnance, hitched the gun to the back of a truck and bailed out to the back of the second Argylls positions at the Trolak bridge. If they had stayed in the fight, they could have done more damage to the enemy tanks, perhaps avoided the tragedy that was bound to ensue. This situation should have given the British an opportunity to destroy the Japanese tank column and lorries, but the communication was cut off by a bad telephone line, and the 350th Field Artillery batteries, which were positioned near the harbour area at Slim River, shelled the general area, in particular the front area of the Hyderabad defensive position at milestone 60, which was now irrelevant to the action. Then came another debacle that proved the recklessness of the British commanders, who downplayed the threat of the Japanese tanks and probably did not realise the existence of an old loop road before the completion of the Federal Route 1 in 1939 within the D Company defensive area. Either it was not plotted on the British military map, or perhaps Stewart's planned for it to be used later by the motor transport vehicle of the Hyderabadis and the Punjabis unit to pull their troops from this position further south, at least according to the original plan. This led to the old loop road not being properly covered by any of the anti-tank mines or even defended by the Tiger patrols of the Punjab men, which should have positioned at least Boy's anti-tank rifles to cover this access from being used by the enemy tanks. This development proved fatal for the Punjabis, who were now in a desperate condition. Meanwhile, information starts to arrive from the men of the company at the battalion HQ requesting permission to pull out from their position. But Lieutenant Colonel Ian Stewart was adamant that the Punjab CO remain steadfast and hold the line whatever the cost. When the Punjab position was finally outflanked just within 2 hours after it was attacked, the men decided to abandon their post and in panic retreated to the western sector of the railway line, which ran parallel to the main road. This act opened up the main road to be used by the bulk of the Japanese infantry, supported by trucks and armoured cars that were following the thrust of the Japanese tank column to sweep slowly to the B Company defensive area. Meanwhile, Shimada's tank column now charging at 12 miles per hour to the 2nd Argylls and Sutherland Highlanders defensive position, which should start at milestone 62. But then this particular area were managed to be held up in just 2 hours because the tail sections of the Japanese 6th Tank Regiment tried to probe through or outflank these positions. So you can imagine there was a roadblock in front, maybe somewhere right at where the lorries were parked, and men of the 52 Punjab using these ridges tried to kill a tank with whatever they got, and also have to deal with the outflank movement of the Japanese infantry coming in from the left and right side, throwing Molotov cocktails, receiving friendly unit of the Hyderabadis, and then the rest of the Japanese tail section managed to find an old loop road that was built prior to 1939. So in 1939, again, the British government, colonial government, had improved this road section and have straightened out this road to where it is right now. And there was an old loop road in the Japanese infantry map, where we know that prior to the war, prior to the outbreak of the war, the Japanese army sent many spies throughout Malaya, posing as barbers, dentists, open up a bicycle workshop, and doing everything what they can to gather information and intelligence, so that one day, perhaps when the Japanese government decided to attack Malaya, they already have a good information to the benefit of their men to conquer Malaya and Singapore. So at that night, at maybe around 5:30 in the morning, the Japanese, the tail sections of the Japanese 6th Tank Regiment that were held up along these positions tried to outflank and use the information gathered by their intelligence unit before the war, and they managed to find an old loop road. So this is one of the old loop road within the 61 milestone section held up by the Punjab unit. So it is still in existence today, and this old loop road was used by the 6th Tank Regiment, Major Toyosaku Hajime Shimada, to outflank the strong defensive Punjab position, which I have shown all of you just now. So this old loop road were not being covered by the men of the 52 Punjab, which was a grave mistake from a military standpoint. We know that before the war, even though they were given 3 days prior to took up the defensive position from milestone 60 to milestone 64, but the men suffered with extreme fatigue and tiredness. They do not have enough sleep, which somehow affected their straight thinking, and this old loop road were not covered by any of the Punjab men or 12th Indian Brigade unit. They do not put any anti-tank guns or anti-tank mines, not even cylinder roadblock, and the start or the tail sections of the 6th Tank Regiment, which the lead 6 tanks had been destroyed by the men of the 52 Punjab. When they probe through an area where they can use to outflank the strong Punjab position, they managed to use this old loop road and outflank the men of the 52 Punjab positions. This area somehow folded once Lieutenant Colonel Cecil Dikin realized that the frontier companies of the 52 Punjab had been outflanked from the back. And 500 meters from where we are standing now, there were also a cylinder roadblock that had been put up by the men of the 52 Punjab. But when the tanks reached that area, they managed to brush through the first roadblock held by the 52 Punjab. And at the battalion HQ of the 52 Punjab, they put up at least 2 2-pounder anti-tank guns. One was destroyed by the advancing Japanese tank unit, and another one were hitched and retreated further back behind the Argylls positions at milestone 62 to 64. So this old loop road is still in existence today. It had been built by the British colonial government early 19th century, and in 1939 they improved the road, so all the crooked section, the difficult crooked sections, had been straightened out, and it appears in the Japanese Army map, but not in the British map. So it was not being covered. The attack by the 6th Tank Regiment, led by Major Shimada, should have ended at the 52 Punjab position, but it didn't. Because the Murphy Law says, when things can go wrong, hell will break loose. So among of the military academicians and historians said that the Battle of Slim River itself was not exactly a battle, but it is a fiasco or a melee. A lot of 52 Punjab men died within this position. The only company that survived were the one with the Colonel Cecil Dickens. So after the Japanese outflank, the Punjab position from milestone 61 to milestone 62, Colonel Cecil Dickens, the CEO of the 52 Punjab, rallied his men. He managed to pull at around only 30 men, but at the end of the day of 7th of January, only 3 survived because they have a long retreat further back to the railway bridge at Slim River. So that was only the frontier point at the end of 7th of January 1942. This Punjab position started to fall once the leading enemy tank troop discovered the old loop road, which allowed them to bypass the D Company position. However, the men of the D Company still have to defend their area from the Japanese infantry, which was mopping up this area slowly. By 6:30 AM, once their line of communication was cut off with the battalion HQ, the Punjab men took their own initiative to save themselves by pulling out to the western sector, where the railway line was located. Again, I bet if you make a thorough archaeological research, especially digging up this area, the ridges in front of me, or perhaps on my right side, you can still find the remnants of the old war, perhaps in the form of 303 cartridges, or the bottles of the Molotov cocktail that were not used by the men of the 52 Punjab. This position should have helped and stopped the 6th Tank Regiment charge, and this position also marked an area where the Japanese infantry were left by the 6th Tank Regiment so that they can probe further down to the Argylls defensive area and also to the Slim River sector, unaided by the men of the Japanese 42nd Infantry Regiment, which came later throughout the day, because their objective is to capture this metal road leads to the Slim River Bridge, Kampung Ulu Slim River Bridge, and once they hold the area, they patrol the road or the important sections of the road which have bridges or small bridges with their tanks awaiting the arrival of the Japanese infantry regiment throughout the day. So you can practically say that the British unit, either the Hyderabadis or the Punjab position or the Punjab unit or the 2nd Argylls unit that were positioned along the railway line, they relatively were an intact unit, while they retreated further back to the Tanjung Malim area when they heard that these whole sections of the Trolak defensive sector had been overrun by the Japanese army. But the men or the companies, either from the Hyderabadis unit, Punjab unit, the Argylls unit, that were holding the metal road, once they lost the road, they could not use their motor transport armored car, and they have to retreat further back on foot, taking their commander's orders, either outflanking or avoiding the road sections or the metal road, since it has been held by the Japanese tank regiment, to retreat on foot back to the British line south of the Kampung Ulu Slim Bridge, or south of the Slim River Railway Bridge. It is a pity itself if the division HQ decided to send more anti-tank mines to this area. The Slim River fiasco could be averted on the 7th of January. But then again, Murphy Law says if things can go wrong, it will go wrong. We know that the Hyderabadis were reduced to only one companies at the end of the battle. The 52 Punjab men were reduced to a few men, but their CEO survived. And next, we'll go to the defensive position defended by the most celebrated battalion in the whole of the Malaya Command, which was the 2nd Argyle and Sutherland Highlanders. But before we reach the area, I want to show the area where the 52 Punjab men put up undefended roadblock. It was being brushed through easily by the 6th Tank Regiment. And also the last defensive positions held up by the Punjab, which marks also the start where the 2nd Argyle defensive position begins. This whole stretch of 1 mile position was prepared in 3 days, but ironically it folded just within 2 hours. Dia pergi direct. Dalam 500 meter dari sini ada roadblock, tapi dia just lalu saja. Once the Japanese tanks successfully outflanked the D and C Company defensive area, they encountered another half-hearted roadblock within the Punjabis sector right in front of me. But since the cylindrical concrete roadblocks were not chained between each other, the Japanese tanks easily brushed through this last impediment of the Punjabi unit. The current route condition we are travelling now doesn't exactly depict the route condition that was involved in the battle in 1942, since it has undergone a major upgrade to straighten it out in 1992. I will explain this further in the next episode. We are now entering the 2nd Argyle and Sutherland Highlanders defensive sector, which starts at milestone 62. Before I conclude this episode, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Lieutenant Colonel Ross Cable and Warrant Officer 2 Paul Knapp for their generosity in sharing information and professional advice about the exact location of the 52 Punjab disposition area, in particular the old loop road vector. There is essentially no detailed writings about the precise location of the battle that occurred within the Punjab sector. Without their generosity and kindness in sharing the scholarly articles and military maps, this episode would not have been possible. Not to forget a good friend of mine, Lieutenant Colonel Zuraiman from the Malaysian Army, who has always been helpful to me on matters related to military history. I also wish to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to one of my subscribers who suggested a very good book regarding the combat action that occurred within the 52 Punjab defensive sector. I bought the book online and rightly so, it proved to be a very valuable source in completing this episode. In the next episode, I will provide a detailed account of the most celebrated battalion under the Malayan Command during the Malayan Campaign, specifically detailing what happened here. Stay tuned to this channel for this exciting and interesting episode. Until then, I will see you all in the next one. Have a great one everybody, and thank you for your viewing. We are here for the consecutive time trying to reconnoiter this old road which is supposed to lead us to old rubber plantation that were in existence prior to 1942. So I've been around this area almost every week now since November 2024.
Lu nak pakai yang menegak ke melintang?
Melintang?